Welcome, food travelers, to another episode here in Washington State. In this episode, we're headed to a restaurant called BBQ2U. This restaurant is located in the Gig Harbor area. It's about 15 minutes south of Seattle if you drive around the Sound, and there is a second option where you can take the ferry. At the time of this recording, if you were to take the ferry, it will be about 90 minutes according to Google Maps. It is a little bit shorter distance, but because you have to wait for the ferry and just queue up, it will be a longer time, about almost double the time there. And another thing I did want to mention is on the way back to Seattle, if you're driving around the Sound, there is a toll lane which you have to use to pay. There's two options. You could pay with the Good To Go pass if you have that option, or you can pay with cash or card. At the time of the recording, if you were to use the Good To Go pass, it is about $1 cheaper. Another thing I want to mention is the hours of operation. This restaurant is open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. and they claim to cook in the authentic Central Texas style barbecue, which they do use wood-fired pits. It's been a while here, Simon, that we've had Texas-style barbecue. What do you think?
I know when we were kind of discussing what we wanted to do, what we wanted to try, we were having a hankering for Texas barbecue. We were actually discussing about heading over to Texas as well. Something that, at least in the past, we've never really found a place that had really great Texas barbecue, so we've always just been underwhelmed. And so I was actually pretty happy that we found this spot because it's probably the closest that we found to having that authentic Texas barbecue that actually has kind of the similar textures and flavors that you kind of get going to have Texas barbecue in Texas. So I was actually happy, and even as you kind of look at the interior, they do set it up very similar to other places that we have been in Texas.
Yeah, Simon, and as you see in the video, they're just slicing up the Dino, the beef Dino ribs. That's a pretty large piece. There's something said about beef ribs in Washington State. It's very rare. It's like seeing a dinosaur almost, because there's so many restaurants who are barbecue restaurants and they just don't offer this. Another thing I did want to mention is this restaurant does have a minimum. You have to order a minimum of 1.25 pounds of beef ribs. And at the time of this recording, they did state that it's been about 2 weeks since they last had the beef ribs. So I think we were pretty lucky having the beef ribs.
Yeah, that was, for me, Michael, one of the main things I wanted to try coming here was the beef ribs. It's been a while since we, like you mentioned, we're in Texas and had our last beef ribs at a couple of really great places when we had our visit down in Texas. And this one was pretty good. I was not disappointed. As you can see from the video, it's just a huge chunk, which is, absolutely beautiful. There's a nice bark that they put right on the outside. Good flavoring, very delicious, and it was nice and tender.
Yeah, and for our ordering, they had this on the menu. It was a recommendation for 2 people is to go with 2 servings of meat and 3 sides, and all items are charged individually by weight. So we got the beef Dino ribs. We also got a half pound of pulled pork and a half pound of brisket. And for the sides, we got the mac and cheese, beans, and coleslaw. And for dessert, we got the banana pudding.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to note, Micah, they also have sweet tea there, Texas sweet tea, so it was nice to have that option as well. As for me, every time I do get barbecue, if it's not a beer, then it's at least that sweet tea to kind of have with the meal. But yeah, as you look at the beef ribs, it's really nice. Something I'm happy we found here in Washington, because for a while it was just so difficult to get barbecue that was really, really good. Or at least close enough to what we like in Texas. It's one of those things where once you have something really good, it's hard to kind of go eat the same foods that is not quite up to par, and in this case, this one was.
Yeah, definitely. Like I mentioned earlier, finding beef ribs is just a rare gem. It's just really hard to find restaurants or barbecue restaurants that actually offer it. It's very juicy. It was seasoned very well, like Simon said, had a good bark to it. It was very tender. It just fell off the bone. You don't really need a knife or anything. As for the brisket, I felt like it was still pretty good. It was not, I wouldn't say it was great like the Texas barbecue that we had, where the flavor was not as fatty, I would say, as some of the Texas barbecue briskets that we've had in the past. What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I found myself kind of mixing in the barbecue sauce a bit more than I would, especially back in Texas, where I kind of didn't use sauce as much at all for a lot of the really great briskets, especially for a place like Franklin's. And so that's why I did kind of mix it, because at some pieces I kind of felt there was some kind of dry morsels and it kind of needed some help with some moisture, so that helped. The barbecue sauce was delicious. It's a little bit more on the sweeter side for those who don't like the sweet. It might be a little bit too sweet for you, but for me it was pretty much a good mix for me, so I like that.
Yeah, it still had a pretty good smokiness to it, but not as pronounced as the flavoring from the other Texas places that we went to, where it just infuses into the meat. Texture-wise, I think was still pretty decent. It was very tender. It still pulled apart really easily. It wasn't super dry or anything like that, I would say. As for the pulled pork, I was a little bit more disappointed in that one. I felt like that was on the drier side. Not enough smoke flavor or dry rub onto it, and that one I did rely more on the barbecue sauce.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think out of the three meats that we did get, the pulled pork was probably on the more disappointing side for me, because flavor-wise, it just I felt like it was very weak. There wasn't too much, and so it definitely just ended up pouring the sauce on it more to kind of capture some flavor to it. But overall, it's the meats, especially for here in Washington State and Texas barbecue that we've been kind of looking around. I'm definitely happy we found this place.
Yeah, another thing I did want to mention is, unlike a lot of the Texas barbecue restaurants we went to, usually the pits and the smokers are up front, outside the restaurant, so it's something you can watch and just look at before you enter the restaurant. This is one restaurant that we didn't see any pits around. We did walk around the restaurant, and the only thing we did find was the wood that they use on the back of the restaurant.
Yeah, we were trying to. Usually as we visit, especially in Texas, as we visited all these barbecue places, they're really, really awesome. Some of the nicest people you can meet, and they'll actually let you go around and take a look into their pits and see all the meats cooking and everything they're doing. And we were kind of see if maybe if they would have the same approach. It's not quite the same. It's more of it's in the back kitchen, and they do have the smoker, and we did see the wood that they were using to smoke it, but it's not as a show as much as it is in Texas.
Yeah, and going into the banana pudding, I felt like it has pretty good banana flavoring to it. I was able to scoop it up with a little bit of banana bits to it. I felt like it was pretty smooth and creamy. It didn't really have that cake-like texture where you had layers of wafer cookies to it. But overall, I did really enjoy this restaurant, and I would recommend coming to this one. And to wrap up the episode are the notables. Unfortunately for this one, there are none.
If you've enjoyed the content you've seen, don't forget to support the channel and hit like and subscribe. And if you want to see additional pictures of food and our travels, go over to our Instagram page and follow us there. And thanks for watching.